Tonight we wanted to talk a little bit more about karma and reincarnation and how you can move through these. But first, to understand how to move through them, you kind of have to understand and be aware of what they are. So, first of all, let's think about a fish. Okay, a fish is swimming around in the water there, and if you came up to that fish and said, "Fish, how's the weather today?" The fish would go, "What? What's weather?" Because the fish doesn't know weather because it only knows its little watery environment that it lives in. It doesn't know the world of air and clouds and rain. So likewise, us, like that fish, we only know our own world that we know, like we're almost in a bubble. Like you ever see somebody and you say, man, that person is living in their own world, right? Well, actually, we all are. And, it's just our worlds are closer to the other people's worlds and stuff like that. So one of the ways that you want to move through the karma and get through this and learn about it is to become more aware of it. Okay, so what is what is karma? Okay, to me, karma is like the building up of stress of things that we hold on to. It's energy that has not been released by us. And so, this could happen from this life or other lives where we just hold on to things. Society sometimes tells us you have to act a certain way. Don't get angry. Don't slam the door. Don't express your anger. So, what do we do as kids? We suppress all of that inside of us, and it builds and builds. And this can cause things to happen to us. So, what does it feel like? To me, it feels like stress. It might feel like anger to others. It might feel like self-righteousness. I'm right, damn it. We see that a lot in the world today. Everybody knows that their way is right. It could be blame. It could be shame. It could be guilt. So all of these things that we're feeling build up in us. Like, for example, you go on a beautiful 2-week vacation to Hawaii and you come home. On Monday, you are just flying high. You are so peaceful and so relaxed. And then by Tuesday, you start getting a little bit more stress going on. By Wednesday, you're back to normal. So this stress, this stuff builds up in us. And what it does is it causes self-fulfilling prophecies or things to happen to us in our lives that we call karma. So if we could release these things, if we could release all this stuff before it gets too bad, and the way nature works is it might give you a gentle tap on the cheek. Oh, Steve, pay attention. But what do? We don't pay attention because we're so busy focused in the world. And then it slaps you a little harder, and then it pushes on you, and before you know it, you're hitting the side of the head with the 2x4, which could be a car accident, it could be a divorce, it could be any number of serious problems. You're losing your job, and all of these things happen. And what's the one thing? You're really not aware of yourself, and you're not aware of what's going on. So the idea is to transmute this energy that we hold inside of ourselves. And this, I believe, is what the ancient philosophers said when they said turn lead into gold. They're they're turning their negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So it doesn't mean that we're releasing these thoughts. It means that we're transmuting them or we're perceiving them differently. I grew up with one brother and 3 sisters, and we all perceive our childhood differently, and yet we all went through the same experience, and yet every one of us has a completely different view about what happened. So we're the same action or the same event has infinite different possibilities of how to view it. So the bottom line is we want to try, or not try, we want to reframe those old things which hold on to us. How many of you have said something silly or stupid in high school or something happened in high school that was so embarrassing to you. And when you think about it, you still cringe inside, you still tighten up. The idea is that idea is still holding you. And so we want to reframe it or look at it a different way. They say when you look at something differently, the things you look at change. So, or something like that, however it goes. So, one of the things to do is to try to be aware, like Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand and then be understood. So to become more aware or more conscious, we want to try to understand what the other person is feeling or saying. And I think we all have a lot of opportunity in that area today in the political arena because there's always everybody has a different point of view there, and everybody's fighting and stuff. So to try to see what the other person is feeling, and then the next thing to do, because again, remember, we're in that bubble, we're that fish that lives in the water, and we don't know what it's like outside of the water because this is the way we've always lived. So it's like, well, how do I even change? I don't even know what my issues are, and so the one thing we want to do is we want intent. So, you know, I'm going to go through some different levels of perception that I talked about in November, but I'll just kind of skim through them again today. So, the levels of consciousness, they could start all the way from like apathy all the way up to Christ consciousness, like the colors of a rainbow. And so there's so many different shades throughout here, but like in the shaman world, they distill it down to 4 different snapshots. So like if you buy a box of crayons, there's 7 colors in that box. But when you look at the colors of the rainbow, it's an infinite range of colors. So we're going to just take a snapshot of 4 different levels. And as I'm going through these, think about it yourself and see where you fit in, and part of you will fit into each one of these levels, I'm sure. So the first level is the level of the physical level. This is the level of the serpent or the south in the shaman tradition. In this level, this is like a person that doesn't believe in reincarnation. They believe when you die, it's game over, or they might believe in heaven or hell but they only believe it because they've been told. They could be very devout. They could be great Christians, very good people. But again, it's because they've been trained to be that way. They don't really have a sense of what's right and wrong. To them, everything is black and white. If you talk about karma or whatever, well, they're like, no, there's just not karma. Sometimes shit just happens, and that's the way it is. Their ethics come from their upbringing, which could be good or it could be bad, and so this is at the physical level. This is kind of where the ego is at, as we talk about the ego and things like that. And the ego is at this very physical, everything's black and white. It can't see spirit. It doesn't know spirit. So it's going to try to pull you back down into its world because it feels like it might be dying. There's also like no inner intuitive learnings at this level. So I'm sure you all know people like that. And maybe there's aspects of your life where you might be like that too. So then we move up to the next level, which is the level of Jaguar or the West. And this is the mental emotional level. So at this level, we expand on the concept of self. This is the person who was at the physical level, but they're just sick and tired of it. Maybe they feel so much pain inside. They're like, there's got to be something more. I need to find something more. So they break into this level. This is where you develop a more intuitive level about yourself. You feel intuitively that there's more to life than just what you experience and what's out there right now. This level is trapped in time, so there's a past, a present, and a future. And the past has already happened, and the future is going to happen. And things that happened in the past have an influence on the present and the future. If you had a very traumatic experience as a child, that will influence you through the years. But this level is where psychic abilities or intuitive abilities are starting. And so you might be able to, look into the future a little bit. You might be able to, the phone rings and you might say, oh, there's mom on the phone, and you know who it is when they're calling. Um, and in this level, we have reincarnation. We have past lives, many, many past lives. We have karma. The idea is we're going through all these millions of lives to develop some type of nirvana or spiritual advancement. And in this world, it's still us. It's still me, the individual me, who is working towards my enlightenment. There's not me. It's almost like me still. There's still me up against the world in a lot of cases in this environment at this level. So I'm trying to find my own enlightenment in the world. I'm helping people. Might feel good to help people, and that. So this one, the past at this level is kind of sticky, if you will. So it's hard to get rid of it at this level. If you had, yeah, you might go to therapy, you might go to healers, you might do a lot of things, but nothing is going to really change at this level because you're still trapped in time. And, you may make a little bit of progress here and there, but you're trapped in time. And, so um, we realize and we feel in this world that, well, if I don't make it this time, I can come back and do it again. Okay. So as we move up through this, move into the third level, which is hummingbird or the north. And this is the spiritual or the etheric level of consciousness. Now, at this level, there is no time. There's no past, there's no present, and there's no future. It's just all at the same time. And in the old shaman days, it was called circular time, where the wisdom of old age nurtured and educated the youth, and the energy of youth um, provided the energy and motivation for those with the body that was aging. Here, there's no cause and effect. There merely is. This is where your emotional healing is going to happen. This is where you get those aha moments when you're like at that 30,000 foot level. And you can look down and go, oh, I can reframe that object now. I can reframe that experience because now I can see it from a different point of view because I'm up here. I'm not lost in that 3D world, if you will. At this level, you never feel alone because as you're moving through this level, you'll be feeling so much more at one. Like with the second level, you might feel alone in that level because like I mentioned, it's still you against the world. But at this level, the loneliness goes away because you start becoming one. You feel one with the world. At this level, there are no past lives. They're simply other lives. Now, these lives can influence you, um, you know, at your life at other times and all, but it's not me looking for enlightenment. It's me in my enlightenment. The world becomes enlightened. And I believe this is kind of what Jesus meant when he said, they say he died on the cross for your sins. Well, okay, whether he died on the cross is another story. Let's say he was crucified for your sins. And and so this is where they say because Jesus was so advanced that, in his world he was outside of time, and so he could see everybody's stuff, and he could see that we're all in this together. And so when I change, you all change. If you change, we all change. So we're all part of just one bigger whole. And then at this level, karma is still there, but it's kind of insignificant. So stuff is still going to happen to us, but it's not going to affect us like it would have. I mean, maybe think about when your first relationship broke up, how you felt like, oh my gosh, the world is coming to an end, or when you got your divorced or whatever. And so at this level, it's more of a collective level. Here, righteousness is no longer necessary because we know. We know that we know what we know, and we don't need to push our thoughts onto anybody else because we just know and we're confident in what we know, and we have that confidence within that says, we have that. How many people like to control their life? At this level, you don't need to control your life because you know that the spirit will provide and that the universe will provide you everything that you need. Here, we may have preferences, but there's no addictions or requirements. This has to be this way. I have to do this right now, or whatever. And here we can rise above perception and free ourselves of old traumas and things like that. So at this level, the goal is service to humanity. And like I said, when we heal our old wounds, we're healing the world. And when the world heals their wounds, it's healing us. And we are less and less alone in the world. So next we move to the fourth level, which is Eagle, which is the East. And at this level, this is the infinite. This is where everything comes together as one. So the soul is a part of this oneness. It's more like a drop of water in the ocean than an individual person. Our body cannot be separated from other bodies. We are all just one big being, if you will, or one level of consciousness. There are no others here. There's just one being. There's no karma. There's only conscious choices. There's no sickness. There's only health. There's no hate. There's only compassion. There is nothingness and everythingness. This level is grace. This level is stillness. Okay, so those are the levels of consciousness that we can go from. And if you can identify where you are at each level with each identification, like maybe an alcoholic, when they need a drink, they're at that first level because, it's the very material world and it's just black and white. I need the drink now. Whereas if they could raise their level up to the second or third level, they could see and understand why they do what they do. So again, we have the physical level, we have the emotional, mental level, we have the spiritual level, and then we have the infinite level. Okay, so simply put, we're coming into a time now where we don't have to live our karma anymore. We can just let it go. It's a great thing. But likewise, the ego mind is saying, well, okay, I don't know that I don't know that I'm ready to let this go yet. So, last time when I spoke, I talked about just letting it go. But as I pondered it more, there's other ways that we can do it. Other things that we can do that can help us to move through our stuff, our stress, our karma, our beliefs in the world and things like that. So letting it go is the first one. If you can, just let it go. I like the saying, like, not my job. If you see somebody and you're like, you really want to get involved in that drama, but you're like, no, not my job. I'm gonna just sit this one out. If they ask for help, then you want to give it, but not to jump into the pool if you're not invited in, if you will. So the next level is becoming more aware. So like that fish in the water, to become aware that you're in the water, that this world of yours is yours and that there could be another way to view the world. So you want to be aware that you're attached to something. I think an example is, you ever come across a person that is just so obnoxious or something, and everybody's just like, oh my God, and they don't even know that they're that way. All right? They're not aware. So just even to be aware that you have an obnoxious trait in you, like a fun story, my shaman mentor, she told a story how she was always very unhappy in life. Nobody liked her, she was always arguing with people. And and then one day she woke up and she said, I'm a bitch. She goes, she became aware that she was the one being obnoxious. And when she became aware of that, she was able to heal that. And then her life became very good and friendly, and she was able to move through that and enjoy life. So another aspect of being aware is not judgment. We want to just observe things, like if a child is crying, you're going to just hold that child and just rock it back and forth without judgment. And so you want to be that way with yourself, not to judge, oh, you were bad, you better stop doing that. No, you just want to hold it when these things come up. If anger comes up, if frustration comes up, you want to just hold it and love it and just be with it. And it's amazing that just being aware is like 95% of the healing. It may not feel like it at the time, but it really is. And so you have to have faith that this is work. Awareness is like um, walking into a dark room and seeing all the shadows and being afraid, and then flipping the light switch on and seeing that those shadows just go away, that they're really not there. So in awareness, that's what you can do to help in your life. The next one, the next idea is to go within. You know, everyone says how God is within, but how many people really practice that or really understand that? If we're always up here in our thinking mind, it's the ego-driven thinking mind, blah, 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 talking. I mean, how many, myself included, out there, have a hard time quieting the mind? I'm the same way, sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is going and I just can't stop it. But when I do go within to my body, and then we'll do some exercises in a moment, then that that thinking mind quiets, like taking the breath like we did at the beginning of this session tonight, is that's where we will find our power, and that's where we can step out of that world of the thinking mind, that world of the level one, of the physical world. So So one of the things that is kind of interesting is um, that in the shaman world, there's three main chakras. So the first chakra is the second chakra, which is just below the belly button a little bit. The second main chakra is the heart chakra, which is, of course, here in the heart. And the third main chakra is the eye chakra, the third eye chakra. And so one of the things that I've been doing, which helps, is when you chant Om, to chant it um, at the different levels of the body. So, in other words, so what the way that I've been taught that Om is chanted, it's not Om, it's Ah Om. So it's Ah Om. So if you chant the A lower and feel your belly, and then as you move into the O, you move into the heart. And then as you do the at the end, you feel the vibration in your head, in your third eye. So it would be like, or you could do it in different notes. Uh, all right, so everyone's muted, so just go ahead and try this yourself right now. Just do and feel the vibration. Go as low as you can. And feel that vibration in your belly. Uh, and if you don't feel the vibration, just bring your attention there. Uh, and now up to the heart. Oh, that one's a little easier to feel. And then, hmm. Mm. Okay. So just go ahead and try that yourself a couple times, and I'll be quiet so I don't bother you. Okay. So feel how that brings you out of your mind, out of your thinking mind, and and brings you into those three main chakras. And in terms of that, for I was at the chanting workshop with Mark Handler over the last couple of weeks, and he was saying to just chant anything and bring it to any part of your body. Maybe that's something that if maybe your back is hurting and just, chant and bring your attention to that. Or hum. You can do whatever you want that. And really it's the intent when you're doing the chant that works. And another thing that Mark taught that was, I think, very important is after you've done these ohms for a few minutes, to just stop and be silent for a moment and just feel. Feel your body. And then if the thinking mind comes in, you can start doing a couple more. The and keep on doing this and you will learn, it will happen, and if it's uncomfortable, just work on the and just put your hand on your belly, and bring your attention to the belly. All right, so this is one way that you can do that to bring yourself out of that material world and into a higher level of world. Another technique is very common. Done, I think sure we've all done this in meditation, is to focus on each part of your body and bring the attention like to each part of your body. And we won't do this now, but you might be laying there in bed and bring your attention to your feet and scrunch up your feet and then release and then just feel your feet. And then bring your attention to your calves and tighten up the calves and release and feel the calves. Thighs, tighten up and release. And go through your whole body this way, and you will find that you will become so much more relaxed and at peace after doing this. So these are some of the things about going within. These are the senses of the feeling. Another one is to listen to the silence. Um, Eckhart Tolle tells a story about two monks who are traveling in the woods, and the student and a master. And the student says to the master, "Master, what is Zen? And how do I get there?" And he's speaking to when he says Zen, he's talking about a state of bliss or nirvana. And the master says, "Hear that babbling brook in the distance?" And the student is very quiet for a while. And he listens and he listens. And suddenly he can hear the babbling brook. And the master says, "Enter Zen from there." Hmm. So then they're walking along for a while. And the student is thinking about this, and he says, "Master, what would you have said if I didn't hear the brook?" And the master says, "Enter Zen from there." So the idea is that through our ears, when we listen to something that's in the distance or not in the distance, but we listen as if we're trying to hear something way in the distance, this is another portal or another doorway where we can come into that place of peace through the sense of hearing. You can do it through the sense of sight. Put a candle in front of you and just stare at the candle. for a long, long time, just breathing and staring at the candle. And then there's focusing on your breath. So one of the things that really works well for me when focusing on the breath is what you could call it like 5, 5, 8, 8. So you inhale for the count of 5, you hold for the count of 5, and then you exhale longer. So you exhale for the count of 8, and then you hold the air out for the count of 8. So let's try that now. So again, just get really comfortable, and I'm just going to count off. And you can do this, you know, you can do 5, 10, you can do 3, 8, 3, 5, anything that you want, just as long as the exhale is longer. So we'll do 5, 8 for now. So go ahead and just take a deep cleansing breath and blow it out. Inhale, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then take a deep cleansing breath and blow it out. Just feel the body for a moment. Okay, so those are some techniques that you can use to help you. On other things, I like to do some yoga to relax my body, and then I'll do some breath work, and then maybe then do some silent meditation. I like to do the Cobra breath, or there's also the shaman fire breath, which we do sometimes on the master study group. And so there's a million different ways you can do it. But one thing I will say, at one point in my life, I did this every single morning for a year and a half. And my life was so peaceful and easy, and everything flowed, and anything I wanted or needed came to me, and everything worked. And but then life got a hold, and I stopped doing it. And then then you have good things and bad things, and a lot of stuff happening in life. And so just to try to do, or don't try to do something every morning, every day, just even if it's just a few minutes doing some breathing, and that will really help you to bring yourself into that higher state of consciousness. So, in conclusion, letting go of karma is not going to be fireworks and marching bands. It's more of a silent, subtle peace. As they say, the still small voice within. It's about being aware of who you are and what you're doing at every moment. It's about letting go of the stress of everyday life and doing this every single day, as often as you can. And mostly it's about just being with yourself in joy, being with yourself in joy. Thank you.
Absolute wonderful presentation there, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you said at the end that getting rid of karma isn't the fireworks and something else, and I can't remember what the other thing was, but
Marching
I,
bands.
yeah, fireworks and marching bands. I think that's the definition of karma is fireworks and marching bands.
True, true.
So getting rid of karma is kind of like getting into the quiet space after they're done.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I like to do like the fire breath because to me that's the marching band, the shaman fire breath, the because to me that relaxes me and eases the tension and releases that tension. So, but there's all different ways, and everybody has to find their own way. I just gave a few ideas today that work for me. And so,
Hmm.
are there thoughts, ideas, questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
What was the spiritual level? Was that the North Hummingbird?
Yes, that was the
Okay.
North, and that's hummingbird. Correct. Oh,
Um,
wait. Or yep, yep. You're right. Yeah, that is the spiritual level. Sorry. Yep.
and then Ego East Infinite. Um, so I had a question with um, when you said something about I see you. Where was that at? Okay, in that part of it, when I change, you change. When I see you, there's something about I see you. So when I change, you change. Something about the world changes. You see the world differently. When we're with someone as a light worker, healer, shaman, or whatnot, if we're seeing that change and we're in that level of that spiritual level, are we seeing the change for the other person in helping them be that change because we're seeing it? Or is
Yes.
that on their own that they will come to that? Like, if we set an intention, if we're doing work with them and I
So
see change and these people are stuck in that 3D physical serpent.
yeah, so like the way I was trained was when you're working with a client or a person, you want to explore each of the four different levels. So you want to say, okay, what's happening in this person's life at the serpent or the physical level? This might be stomach problems, it might be a hip problem, it might be something like that. And then you move up to the emotional level and you say, what's going on in this person's emotional life. Maybe they were attacked or raped or something happened, some trauma happened as a child that happened at the emotional level. And then you move up to the hummingbird level where you now are above that so you can see a different way of being for this person. And in seeing that, that person can come along with you and also see that. And you do that through various techniques and things like that.
Okay.
And then you come
Interesting.
up to the eagle level where we're all just one. And like, did you ever go to like if you go to a psychic class, right, or something, and there's a psychic in front of the class, and by the end of the class everybody's very psychic, you're reading cards, you're doing all this cool stuff. Then you go home and the next day it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's not working today because that person brought you up, right? So as a healer working with someone, you want to bring them up and show them a different way of being.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Good question. Other thoughts, questions, experiences people have had?
One thing that I noticed as you were talking about the different levels, you did mention that sometimes we might find ourselves in different levels depending on when we are. But I think I did recognize that as we go through life, we do kind of change from one level to another depending on what situation it is, different days, different seasons of our life. It's not just a strict linear progression from bottom to top. It's kind of a meandering pathway.
Right, right. Or you might see a person in the corporate America world, they might be like super disciplined and very good and very intelligent and follow through and be a great person. And then they get home and they act like a little kid, you know, they're I know people like that. And it's just because different aspects of our lives, like I think it was Freud or said some, but as we're growing, like say if there was 15 different measures, as you're growing, if you get stunted at one level, the rest of you will keep growing, but this part of you will stay stuck at that age. Like say something bad happened at age 6, and so your intellect might be moving up, but emotionally you might be stuck at age 6. So emotionally, you're still going to be living in the material world level at level 1, whereas other levels you may be able to move up. And this is why sometimes, people will be very great healers and very good psychics, but their lives are just a mess,
Mhm.
beyond that, because they're able to separate and push that all away and go into that higher place and heal people. And it's if you ever want to find that, just find a famous healer and talk to their ex, and you'll find about their material side. But anyway, yeah. So good point. Other thoughts, questions, comments? Something?
No, but just touching on that, what you just said is funny because I have a lot of friends that are therapists and they're damn good therapists, clinicians,
Yeah.
and they come to me for energy work and they're my friends, and so it's just their personal lives are a mess,
Yeah. Mhm.
and I feel like um yeah, I have to yell at them like, hey, y'all are out there taking care of everybody else and you're doing a lot of things. And I always, my world is first responder. That's my background and family life. But I don't do it anymore. But anyway, that and these clinician friends, I just something I just wish that they would learn this. And even if they did learn it in psychology, they don't understand or they don't take care of themselves as well as they should.
Right, right. And then that's very common. Yeah. My brother-in-law is a psychologist, and he always jokingly he had two wives who were therapists, and he's like, "You never want to marry a therapist." And I said, "Well, what about my sister? She married you." He's like, "She shouldn't have married me." But they've been happily married for like 30 years or something, or longer, probably 40 years. So he learned. But yeah, and so the idea is with these folks, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody needs healing in some aspect of their life. There's always some aspect that, we're in the human body and we all have our lessons to learn. And so no matter who we are, we have our faults and our blind spots, if you will, our karma, if you will. But I really feel that the energy is changing, that it's so much easier now to move through your karma or through your stuff. Things that took me months to learn in the 70s or 80s. I'm seeing people do it in like one day now. It's just amazing how quickly we can do this, and we have this opportunity before us. So it's a great opportunity for us to step in and make a change in our life. Be somebody different. Take a risk.
Well, I think you hit on the word with awareness. That's a big word for me. I think once
Yeah.
you do become aware, we can't have changes um, without that awareness. I said I was public safety police officer for a while, about 20 years ago, but thinking back before doing healing and energy work is people don't know what they don't know, right? But
Mm.
once you become aware of it, you can become aware and do something, right? You're
Hmm.
now aware of it, so then you can make those changes. But people are just going to keep doing redundant things if we don't point them out.
Right, right.
And
Well,
no
and
question, no answer. You can't, even within our own families, we can see how they just don't have the awareness, but we can't enforce even little tidbits to them because, they didn't ask the question, and you can't really control or, you have to hope that maybe they see a change in you or something about you and the piece that you carry, that they might ask a question, but even so, they don't, I mean, the masses really are not aware.
No, I think a big part is everybody knows what EAP is, right? Do you all know what EAP? EAP is Employee Assistance Program. It's like if you work for a company or government, they give you employee assistance to go get help for something. So my new EAP is early education for awareness, right? And then prevention. And we can't prevent something unless we become aware of it through education. So if we go backwards and take those steps, we got to start educating, like what you're doing here. This is my first time here, so I don't want to talk, but it was a fluke thing that I came across the Coptic thing because I went to a Coptic conference in 2018 in Tennessee.
mhm.
I think
Yep.
that was was that the last one y'all had?
think
Maybe
so.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. I met a guy in he sold he was in the break area selling things. But he went to every one of your conferences and sold stuff. His name was John Dury. I don't know if any of you knew him.
Nancy might know.
Do you know John Dury?
I don't recall that name right offhand.
He sold crosses and pendulums, handmade
Oh,
pendulums and crosses.
okay.
Took stuff, horseshoes, and made all kinds of stuff. But
Okay.
anyway, I reached out to him recently. And I just asked about the Coptic conferences, and he's like, they quit having them. And I said, oh, well, so I Googled you guys. And so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
I like doing things like this. So thank you for welcoming me. I hope to come back
great.
to learn and listen, because I think it's good to be able to share and be vulnerable with people that, I didn't like COVID. We won't go there, but it did bring people together like this so that we can share and get to know one another and see people. And yeah, so thank you.
Great. Well, and Gina, we did just have on March 15th, we had a large scale conference, but we did it online. So we
Oh,
had
wow.
10 great speakers. If you go to our website in the marketplace, you could purchase that. It was
Okay.
very good.
It was fabulous.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
It reminded me of the Southern Johnson City Conference.
That's what
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, Johnson City.
yeah.
Mhm.
Our
Yeah, that
keynote
was.
was Cryon. Do you know Cryon?
I do. There was a lady that I met. Oh gosh, I don't even remember what her name was. But she used to teach some Cryon stuff and Melchizedek.
John Below.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I can't remember her name. She came from Texas.
Well, anyway, Pete put the link in the chat box for the
Okay.
the conference if you want to grab it. And yeah. Well, good. Well, welcome. Yeah.
Well,
How
thank
about
you.
others? Was there something that stuck out that you thought was really important for you? Maybe share with others something you picked out of it.
Well, Steve, everything I hear is a song.
Mhm.
You and me against the world. I'm sorry, man. That's the way it is, man. That's the way I'm wired, I guess.
It's all good. We love you, Pete.
Thank you for the demonstration, because you can feel it in your centers,
Yeah.
and that
Mhm.
was good too. So I had never been exposed to that before. The Om, of course, but not the way you taught it tonight.
hmm And I wonder if, the way the Coptic, the way Mike Delano sings it,
Mhm.
I wonder if that's a missing part of that, to be at the different parts of your body when you're doing that. Because when you do it at the different tones, um, it does help to be at the different part of your
It kind
body.
of does that, doesn't it? He starts out low and then middle and then
That's,
Hi.
it's in Hamaday's
Ah.
material, the way
Mhm.
it was done. Hamaday did
Mhm.
it that way, sang it.
Yeah.
The
And
first and then the fifths.
does he say to focus on different parts of your body when you're doing it there too?
I think in one of the booklets he does.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I know Master Stanley did it in his temple too, in Detroit.
hmm
So the two masters taught it the way Mike sings it.
Yeah.
But
So,
in the conference was the peace troubadour too, and I can't think of his name.
James
Lyman?
Twyman.
Yeah, James Twyman. And he
Yeah.
talked about getting together with family and friends who have differing opinions. And his response was just, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I
And
love you.
and I love you. And he said, you get along real well that way because you don't disagree with them. You just come up with, I don't know, maybe, but I love you. So
I
Yeah.
just like that.
purchased his book, and that's the name of the book.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. It's
I don't
Maybe
know. Maybe I love
I
you.
Love You. Right.
Yeah.
James
And it's
Bond.
James Twyman.
the peace troubadour, he's taken groups over to the different sacred sites and in Europe. I can't even think of places he's
He
gone.
has a place in called Namaste Village in Mexico. So if you don't find him, if you typed in Namaste Village, I'm sure he would come up.
How do you spell that? Do you know?
Namaste, Namaste.
Oh, namaste? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Namaste.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's where one of the couples from our group, Matt, was on one of his tours, wasn't it? I can't think of his name. Oh, he's done so many talks, and she usually does the reading along with him.
Schroeder?
David Schroeder?
Yeah, the
Oh.
Schroders. They met on one of his tours.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah.
It was, one of those
France, wasn't
synchronistic
it?
things.
They went to France?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ellen put the link to the book in the chat. So if somebody wanted that also. And speaking of which, if tomorrow, Paul Rademacher is going to have his workshop. So if you haven't signed up for that, he's really good. I thought he was really solid at the conference, and he's a really solid guy, and he's got some great wisdom on the heart and stuff like that, working from the heart. So, and that's love offering. So if you can't afford it, you don't have to pay. You can attend whatever you'd like. All right. Well, why don't we, for a closing, what about if we could leave ourselves unmuted and we can chant the Aum. Want to try it together?
Hey,
We'll just do it a couple times. I can lead and everybody can join in. It will be interesting. We'll see how it works. And then we'll just close after that. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm glad that I could share some wisdom with you all. It was a wonderful evening and wonderful energy you've all brought to this evening. So I thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get comfortable again. Spine straight and just take a deep breath and we'll just do, I'll do one first. Okay, deep breath.
Oh.
Feeling your body as we're doing it. And just sit silent for a moment and feel your body. Feel the peace. Take this peace out and share it with the world. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.